The build-up to Jake Paul vs. Anthony Joshua has evolved into one of the wildest storylines combat sports has seen in years. It started as a spectacle, a freak show fantasy that fans joked about online. But slowly, almost quietly, something shifted. The footage coming out of Jake Paul's camp didn't show a YouTuber pretending to be a fighter. It showed a man whose entire life had been swallowed by the sport. A man who looked denser, sharper, harder than he ever had before. A man walking with the confidence of someone who refuses to be the punchline anymore. And when Joe Rogan saw the clip, even he reacted with genuine surprise. For a moment, there was no sarcasm, no internet smirking. It was the reaction of someone who has watched fighters his whole life and could recognize when a transformation wasn't cosmetic, but real. Rogan pointed out something no one had bothered to acknowledge until now. Jake Paul has fought real fighters. Some were aging, some were faded, but they were real. And Jake didn't just show up to collect a paycheck. He trained with discipline. He absorbed punishment. He committed to learning a craft that most people assumed he was only borrowing for attention. Rogan also noted that Anthony Joshua is nearing 40, and while still a terrifying force of nature, age changes the dynamic. Suddenly, the fight didn't look quite as predetermined as everyone believed. Suddenly, Jake Paul wasn't walking into a slaughterhouse. He was walking into an unpredictable encounter with a heavyweight giant whose own career has taken unexpected turns. But Rogan wasn't the only one who saw something brewing. Former world champion Andre Berto took a closer, more analytical look. Most fans expect Joshua to end the fight brutally and early. But Berto didn't see it as a simple mismatch. He noticed inconsistency in Joshua's recent performances. Joshua hasn't looked like the indestructible machine he once was. And when a fighter's output becomes unpredictable, their opponents become dangerous. Berto also pointed to the strength of Jake Paul's team, reminding doubters that Jake trains with serious professionals, not clowns hired for content. Jake is stronger, younger, and hungry in ways that are difficult to quantify. If Joshua shows up sharp, the fight will be quick. But if the hesitant, reluctant version of Joshua shows up, Berto believes anything can happen. Others, however, shifted the focus to the economics behind Jake Paul's training environment. Analysts pointed out that sparring with heavyweights gives Jake crucial preparation, letting him feel the devastating power of men who live in the 230 to 260 pound range. It puts him under duress, forcing him to sharpen his reactions under genuine pressure. But it also changes the dynamic of the camp. Because sparring with Jake doesn't just mean practice, it means money. Good money. Money that even established heavyweights cannot refuse. And money has a strange way of softening sparring sessions, of preventing full destruction, of turning what should be brutal rounds into high-paying rehearsals. Fighters like Frank Sanchez or Jared Anderson don't need to annihilate Jake in practice. They only need to show up, give him looks, and walk away with a check big enough to justify their time. This may help Jake. Or it may create a false sense of security that collapses the moment Joshua throws a real heavyweight combination. Then came the perspective from Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen, who framed this matchup not just as a fight, but as a moment of cultural exposure for boxing itself. Joshua isn't just representing his own legacy. He's representing the entire sport before an audience of millions who may be watching boxing for the very first time. This fight will stream on Netflix, the largest stage combat sports has ever seen. For many viewers, their opinion of boxing will be shaped entirely by how Joshua performs against a YouTuber-turned-fighter. Schaub argued that Joshua must walk in with complete clarity and absolute professionalism. He cannot afford to coast. He cannot give Jake even a second of hope. He represents the sanctity of boxing, the lineage of heavyweight champions, the credibility of the sport itself. And if he fails to dominate, the consequences stretch far beyond the result of one fight. Analyst Ade Oladipo added another wrinkle to the storyline. Joshua has changed camps, choosing to train with Alexander Usyk's team, a group known for technical detail, tactical precision, and the kind of intense conditioning that transforms heavyweights into machines. Joshua isn't taking Jake lightly. He's crafting a version of himself built for efficiency and speed. Meanwhile, Jake Paul is also evolving, possibly experimenting with new stylistic elements to counter Joshua's size and experience. Oladipo believes that because both fighters are reinventing themselves for this matchup, the outcome has become far less predictable than anyone is willing to admit publicly. But even with all the analysis, all the statistics, all the footage and theories,
The heart of this storyline lies in the sheer audacity of Jake Paul's decision.
He could have taken easier fights. He could have continued building his resume. He could have padded his record until the casual audience believed he was ready for elite opposition. Instead, he jumped straight into the lion's den and challenged a former heavyweight champion known for knockout power so devastating it can end a career in a single round. This choice alone has earned Jake something he never had before: respect. Even those who dislike him have been forced to acknowledge the courage behind such a dangerous gamble. Combat expert Luke Thomas offered perhaps the most sobering analysis of all. Joshua isn't just a big man. He's a skilled big man. He reads patterns. He anticipates reactions. He uses his jab like a measuring tool and his right hand like artillery fire. To survive, Jake must fight with discipline like he never has before. One reckless exchange could end the night instantly. And with Joshua coming off a knockout loss, the stakes become even more volatile. Fighters returning from knockout defeats are unpredictable. They can be cautious. They can be emotional. They can start fast or hesitate. Jake must be prepared for all versions. And then Michael Bisping, with his trademark candor, brought the discussion back to what truly drives this fight: entertainment.
People don't have to believe Jake can win to watch.
In fact, it's the disbelief that compels them. It's curiosity. It's spectacle. It's the irresistible allure of watching the impossible attempt to confront the inevitable. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson was one of the most watched events of the year. Not because people expected a masterpiece, but because they couldn't look away. This fight is no different. It's chaotic. It's controversial. It's unpredictable. And it is absolutely guaranteed to draw a colossal audience. This is the strange beauty of combat sports. Logic doesn't always dictate results. The impossible sometimes happens. The unthinkable occasionally becomes reality. And whether Jake Paul survives 1 minute or shocks the world, the boxing landscape will never be the same. If you're enjoying these deep dive breakdowns, make sure to hit that like button, drop your predictions in the comments, and subscribe right now. Do you think Jake Paul stands a real chance? Will Joshua protect boxing's honor? Or is this the moment the entire sport gets flipped upside down? Join the conversation and stay tuned for more dramatic fight analysis coming your way.